Thank you for attending Kentucky Public Pensions Authority's Tier 1 Strategies for Retirement webinar. My name is Ashley Gabbard, and I'm a retirement benefit consultant within the Division of Member Services. Joining me today is a KPPA representative that will manage your questions within the Q&A forum. As most are probably aware, 2020 legislation changed the name of our agency from Kentucky Retirement Systems to Kentucky Public Pensions Authority, or KPPA. While our agency name has changed, KPPA still employs the same great staff which hope to offer you the same exceptional service. You'll see our new logo during the presentation, throughout our website, and on our publications and forums. And if you haven't already, please update your email address within Member Self-Service for information like this and other news regarding your retirement benefits. During the presentation today, we ask that you keep in mind Kentucky Revised Statute 61.661, which requires KPPA to administer your accounts in a confidential manner. Please do not share sensitive information such as your Social Security number, your member ID, or your PIN. If you have specific questions, please contact a KPPA counselor at 1-800-928-4646 with your 4-digit PIN to discuss confidential information on your account. So during today's webinar, we'll have a brief Zoom tutorial. We'll discuss the formula to calculate Tier 1 retirement benefits to gain a better understanding of how these strategies will work within the formula. And then we'll immediately go into the different approaches you can take to maximize your retirement benefits, such as purchasing service credit, using accrued sick leave or compensatory pay at termination, and how you can time your retirement earlier within the fiscal year to potentially increase your final compensation. At the top or bottom of your screen, you should see a Zoom toolbar. On that toolbar, you should have the options to click Chat, Raise Hand, or Q&A. In the far right corner of the toolbar, you'll notice there's an option to Leave Meeting. If you're having technical issues during the webinar or you need to leave the meeting at any point throughout the presentation, simply click on Leave Meeting to excuse yourself. If you're unable to stay the duration of the meeting, I hope you will view a recorded version of the webinar online, or you can join us for another live webinar. To register for future webinars, you'll log into your Member Self-Service account and scroll to the bottom of the home page. Click on the tile titled Seminar Registration. There you'll find a list of webinars or in-person presentations that are specific to your benefit tier. The question and answer function is used to ask general retirement questions to the KPPA representative. Please do not share confidential information in the Q&A forum, in the chat room, or when asking questions live if time permits. Q&A is the preferred method to communicate your questions, as it allows our staff to answer them chronologically and it ensures that no question goes unanswered. The chat room is primarily used for KPPA staff to communicate with the attendees as a whole regarding such things as technical issues or links to online resources. If you do need to communicate with the KPPA staff privately, you can do so in chat by selecting To Panelists Only. Again, private chat does not suggest that you should share any confidential information on your account. That should only be done over the phone or in an appointment with a benefit counselor one-on-one. And to prevent interruption and allow the webinar to end on time, we will not use the raise hand function. While we encourage your interaction with the KPPA staff, we find that oftentimes we will answer your questions throughout the presentation. It's helpful to jot down your questions and ask them at the conclusion of the webinar if those questions go unanswered. The formula to calculate Tier 1 benefits is final compensation multiplied by a benefit factor multiplied by the member's years of service. Members that wish to retire early will multiply that formula times a percentage, which actually reduces their monthly benefit. So to determine your retirement benefits, whether you're retiring early or under normal retirement, we encourage you to log into Member Self-Service and use the benefit calculator. For the presentation today, it's important to define the variables within the formula to understand how these strategies will actually affect your benefits. So let's start with final compensation. Final compensation for non-hazardous members is their highest 5 fiscal years of service, and for hazardous members it's their highest 3 fiscal years. You'll notice we've met both requirements in the example on the screen. Partial years can be used in determining the member's final compensation. Notice fiscal year 1 for both the non-hazardous and hazardous examples only has 1 month of service and wages represented in the calculation. We'll come back to why that's important in just a moment. Now, because you can use partial years, only 48 months are required in the calculation for non-hazardous and 24 months are required in the calculation for hazardous. In the non-hazardous example, years 2 through 5 represent 48 months, or the minimum. When we add the additional month from fiscal year 1, we've now exceeded the 48-month minimum requirement. Same goes for the hazardous example. Years 2 and 3 represent 24 months. When we add the 1 month from fiscal year 1, we have met the 24-month minimum requirement. For Tier 1 members, a payout of compensatory time at retirement is considered credible compensation and increase the member's final compensation. Credible compensation is earnings that must be reported to KPPA and used to calculate retirement benefits. Now that we know our final compensation meets the requirements defined, we can determine the member's final compensation by adding the total money earned over their highest 5 or highest 3 fiscal years and dividing by the months of service that are represented within those years. I mentioned we would discuss the options to use partial years in the calculation. Notice again in year 1 for both the non-hazardous and hazardous examples that there is 1 month represented. Just looking at this example, I would assume these members are retiring August 1st. The reason I make this assumption is because KPPA's fiscal year is July 1 through June 30. If the member works July 1 through July 31st, that is 1 month into the fiscal year. Therefore, there is 1 month of wages represented in the calculation. By the member working 1 month into the next fiscal year, it allows a lower fiscal year of wages to be dropped from the calculation, therefore increasing the member's final compensation. Let's go through each calculation to further explain. We'll start with the non-hazardous example. When we add the money represented over the 5 fiscal years, the sum of those earnings is $119,805. Over those 5 years, there are 49 months represented. So to get a monthly average of earnings over those 5 years, we will divide $119,805 by 49 months of service. To get a yearly average, or what retirement refers to as final compensation, we will multiply that monthly average by 12. The final compensation for this example is $29,340. Now let's do the same thing for the hazardous example. So add the money represented over the 3 fiscal years, and the sum of those earnings is $94,000. Over those 3 years, there are 25 months represented. So to get a monthly average of earnings over those 3 years, we will divide $94,000 by 25 months of service. To get a yearly average, or their final compensation, we will multiply that monthly average by 12. So the final compensation for this hazardous example is $45,120. This will come up again when we discuss August 1st and timing your retirement later in the presentation. So now that we understand how to calculate our final compensation, let's move on to the next variable of the formula, which is the benefit factor. Benefit factors are set by statute and are based upon participation date, the type of service, and the system in which the member participates. For those Tier 1 members participating in KERS non-hazardous, your benefit factor will either be 1.97 or 2%. Members which have consecutive service from January of 1998 through January of 1999 will use the higher 2% benefit factors. Members that do not have that 13-month period will use the 1.97%. For example, my participation date is November of 2007. I participate in KERS non-hazardous and I'm Tier 1. However, I do not have service from January of 1998 to January of 1999, so I use the 1.97% benefit factor in calculating my retirement benefits. KERS hazardous members use 2.49%. And for Tier 1 members participating in CERS non-hazardous, your benefit factor will either be 2% or 2.2%. Members that have service prior to August of 04 use the higher 2.2% benefit factor, while members participating on or after August 1 of 04 but before September of 2008 will use a 2% benefit factor. CERS hazardous and state police both use 2.5%. For those members that have mixed service, each period of service will need to be calculated separately, but will add together for your total retirement benefits. To avoid calculating mixed service, use the benefit calculator on member self-service. The final piece of the formula to retire with full retirement benefits is the member's years of service. Let's look at an example to calculate the member's basic annual benefit. In this example, the member is Tier 1 non-hazardous participating in CERS. We calculated the member's final compensation earlier in the presentation as $29,340. So it clearly states that the member is retiring with 27 years, and based on the chart in the previous slide, he will use the 2.2% benefit factor. We won't discuss retirement eligibility in the webinar today, but to retire with an unreduced benefit for Tier 1 members, you must have 27 years of service or retire at a minimum age of 65. So this member has 27 years of service, and so because of his service, no percentage will be applied to the formula to reduce the retirement benefit. Now let's plug these numbers into our formula. $29,340 multiplied by the 2.2% benefit factor multiplied by 27 years of service is a basic annual benefit of $17,427.96. Now that we understand how retirement is calculated, let's look again at what variables we will cover today in the presentation that could potentially impact our retirement benefits. So purchasing service credit, using accrued sick leave and compensatory time, and the timing of your retirement. As we now know, the formula to calculate retirement benefits is final compensation multiplied by the benefit factor multiplied by years of service. So for those members that are eligible to purchase service credit, buying time will increase your years of service in the system. Let's look at the example on the slide. If the member retires with 27 years of service, the basic annual benefit is $17,427.96. But if the member purchases 5 years of, let's say, non-qualified service, the member increases their years from 27 years to 32 years. Now the calculation is $29,340 multiplied by 2.2% multiplied by 32 years of service. The member's basic annual benefit increases annually by $3,227.40 or $268.95 per month. Now it's important to note that there are some basic requirements in order to purchase service credit, and in most cases you'll be required to provide verification of eligibility to purchase the service. For a full list of service purchases and the information required to verify the period of service, go to kyret.ky.gov and click on Member, Tier 1, Purchasing Credit and Service Types. If you have determined you're eligible to purchase service credit and would like to see an estimate of the service purchase costs, then log into your member self-service account by going to myretirement.ky.gov. Comparing the cost of purchase service credit to an estimate with and without the purchase can help a member determine the return on their investment. Now let's take a look at how accrued sick leave can impact your retirement benefits. Many members are eligible to receive service credit for unused accumulated sick leave upon retirement. And like purchasing service credit, the additional service provided for unused sick leave will be used to determine your retirement benefits by increasing the total years of service. These are the sick leave charts used to calculate a member's service credit. For example, If a member works 8 hours per day and retires with 928 hours of sick leave, the member's total service in the calculation will be increased by 6 months. Keep in mind when you are planning for retirement, the KPPA only uses the minimum hours required in the chart to credit a member's account. So if a member is working 8 hours per day and was to retire with 1,095 hours of sick leave, the member would only be credited with 6 months of service. They would need 1,096 hours to credit their account with 7 months of sick leave. In this example, KPPA could not apply the hours in excess of the 928 to the member's service credit at retirement. Let's look at a couple of examples to better explain sick leave's impact upon retirement benefits. In this first example, we're going to use the 6 months of sick leave to increase our total years of service. Now you can see that when we compare the member's 27 years without using sick leave versus adding the 6 months of sick leave to the 27 years of earned service, it increases the member's benefit by $26.90 per month or $322.74 per year. As mentioned before, full retirement benefits is 27 years of service or age 65 for Tier 1 non-hazardous members. Now, members also have the option to retire early with reduced benefits at 25 years of service regardless of age or at age 55 with 5 years of service. In this example, the member is eligible to retire with 26.5 years of service, but will receive a penalty on their retirement. Now notice the SEF, or special early factor, in the table. If the member retires with 26.5 years of service, he or she would receive 96.75% of their total benefits. If the member uses the 6 months of sick leave, they reduce that penalty to 0. The member's 26.5 years of service added to the 6 months of sick leave gives the member a total of 27 years, which is full retirement benefits. By applying the sick leave, the member has increased their monthly benefit by $73.22 per month or $878.64 annually. Now let's look at compensatory leave. Using compensatory time, often referred to as comp time at retirement, can increase final compensation. Many members participating in the Kentucky Employees Retirement System and State Police Retirement System accrue comp time for hours worked in excess of their regular work schedule. At retirement, these members are paid a lump sum amount of unused comp time. For Tier 1 members, the payout is considered credible compensation and is added into the last month's salary reported to KPPA. Now, like the previous example used to calculate the member's final compensation, we will assume the member is retiring August 1. 1 month is represented in fiscal year 1, which implies that the member worked July 1st through July 31st, with $3,500 in wages represented in that 1 month. The final compensation to the left of the screen does not assume a payout for compensatory time, while the final compensation to the right of the screen assumes a payout of 239 hours, which translates into $5,164 in a lump sum payout in this example. Now remember, comp time is added to the last month's salary, so when we add the $5,164 comp time payout to the $3,500 in regular wages earned, the 1 month represented in fiscal year 1 increases to $8,664. Now if we were to annualize that $8,664, it would appear this member was on target to earn $103,968 for fiscal year 1. Now we know that's not the case, but by dropping out a lower year and replacing it with the 1 month into the next fiscal year, it helps to increase the member's final compensation. So you can see the final compensation, assuming the comp time payout, is now $38,945 versus $37,680 without the comp time. The member's monthly benefit increased by $56.91 or $682.86 yearly. I think it's important to mention that members expecting a payout of their compensatory time at retirement often try to time their retirement so that it's paid earlier in the fiscal year. The later in the fiscal year a member retires with compensatory time, the more their payout of that time is diluted. Remember, by the member retiring August 1, the $8,664 represented the month of July. Had the member retired September 1 and earned $3,500 in wages for both July and August, the $5,164 in comp would still be added to their total earnings, but now that represents 2 months rather than 1. This leads us right into our discussion on how to time your retirement. For reasons like we just discussed, such as comp time payouts, it can be beneficial for a member to time their retirement early in the fiscal year. Comp time payouts, triple pays, overtime worked, all of these things can help increase your final compensation, which is based on your years with the highest monthly average. It is important to keep in mind that while some increases in earnings are excluded from Senate Bill 104, member pension spiking, such as comp payouts at termination only, others will be subject to those pension spiking rules. For more information on pension spiking, go to kyret.ky.gov. For today's example, we're going to compare a June 1st retirement date, which is 11 months into the fiscal year, versus an August 1 retirement date. Since we look at the years that have the highest monthly average, it's important to pay special attention to partial years. In the June 1st calculation, fiscal year 1 represents $40,333 over 11 months. To determine fiscal year 1's monthly average, we need to divide 40,333 by 11. The monthly average for fiscal year 1 is $3,666.64. If we annualize that, it becomes $44,000 for the year. This means fiscal year 1 would be our highest year at $44,000, with fiscal year 5 being the lowest year at $37,000. By working 2 additional months, we're able to drop our lowest year of $37,000 and replace it with the $4,000 representing the 1 month into that new fiscal year. If I annualize $4,000, it translates to $48,000 per year. So is it more beneficial for me to retire June or August? Well, not only will I drop out my lowest year by retiring August 1st, but I will also accrue 2 additional months of service. In this example, the member increases their monthly benefit by $58.70 or $704.44 per year by retiring August 1st. Ultimately, it's your decision to determine when you should retire based on your individual situation. To compare retirement dates to make a decision that works best for you, go to myretirement.ky.gov and log into your self-service account. In Member Self-Service, you can run various retirement dates and change variables such as adding purchased service credit, accrued sick leave, and/or compensatory time, and this will better reflect your situation at retirement. When you are ready to retire, go to the Ready to Retire page on our website at kyret.ky.gov. There you'll find step-by-step instructions through the retirement process and how to apply for retirement online. And if you haven't already, we encourage you to attend a pre-retirement education program or PREP when those are able to resume. In the meantime, watch for KPPA to post other retirement-related webinars to help you prepare for your retirement. And while we have temporarily suspended PREP, we hope to announce an alternative option to the in-person meetings soon, so stay tuned. Our legal notice concludes the Tier 1 Strategies for Retirement webinar. We'll stick around as long as we need to answer your questions within the Q&A forum. This presentation, of course, is intended for general information reference only, so if you do have specific questions regarding your account, please contact us at 1-800-928-4646. On behalf of myself and the other KPPA staff, we thank you for attending today's webinar. We wish you well and ask that you take time to complete our brief survey at the conclusion of today's presentation. Thank you and have a good day.